Jim's having hot chocolate made with hot cocoa, honey, and almond milk. And this stuff, it actually, the ingredients really don't look that bad. So the problem is it's a bit runny, but I'll talk about that later perhaps. Stallone Daylight got top of the stack against Coda and Medieval. And I'm going to read a poem first before I do anything else. And I guess I'll go in this way because James left me space. It's tight in here because there's
so many plants.
So many plants. The whole living room is.
It's good to have friends.
Oh, dear.
It's like living outside.
Yeah. So, and here they'll get adjusted to the light a bit better because it's very bright and it's hard for them when they first get. Just a good scratch.
Get sunburned.
No, I did that. No, I scratched myself.
Oh.
But yeah, it's tough when you're bringing your plants outside to not. You don't want to give them too much light right away, or they really suffer from it. But if you can give them a little shady spot and then move them out, then they're happier. But anyway, I wrote several poems today. Most of them were just sonnets. So, because that's what I do. Watch videos and write. So, this is called A Hurt Humungous Hymenoptera, which I wrote today, May 11th, 2024. While mowing James's lawn today, a huge weird wasp got in the way. I couldn't see an injury, and yet she couldn't fly away. She flapped her wings emphatically and seemed to be annoyed that she was getting nowhere anyway. She seemed to want some help from me, and so I held a stick her way. She climbed it, then I chose to lay it in the shade of greenery where James's birch and flowers stay. I thought it best to leave her be. I hope she flies eventually.
Leave her bee or leave her wasp? I'm not sure if she's a bee or a wasp.
I don't know either.
It's incredible.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Like, you're showing how big around she was. Yeah, incredible. And she must have had a wingspan that, you know, almost as wide as my hand, I think.
Maybe. Anyways, it looked like something out of the Jurassic Park or something. So we both made that remark.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like her, so I hope
grass
she's
that
okay.
I raked up, and I think she got injured. But I hope she recovered. Sometimes you she couldn't fly. She was trying to fly. So.
Yeah, I think one of her wings was.
I don't want to think too much about it.
But especially since we haven't seen anything like her before, so it's.
Yeah. She looked pretty harmless. You were treated with proper respect, though, just in case. Give her the stick.
You brought out a spoon, I guess. Did I bring that spoon?
You brought that spoon. Yeah. That's better than plastic fork, right? Plastic fork's going to get a little bit.
Okay, I just didn't remember doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that cauliflower queso sauce or whatever.
Cheese sauce.
Yeah, it's vegetarian. At first, when I read the ingredients, it says that there's a mayo thing in it, but it's not a mayo. It's a mayo-like stuff, so it's not. It's actually vegetarian. It's a
queso style. It says.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any cheese in it.
And cauliflower, no. So cauliflower is the first ingredient on that, and honestly, the problem is it's too runny, and like James said, it's very mild flavor. So,
I don't mind that, but Pauline
doesn't.
Probably doesn't.
But
like that.
a lot of people would like it with
Zinger.
more, and honestly, I think Superstore. I hope they don't give up on this product entirely. I hope they just take it back to the lab and make it thicker.
Yeah, hopefully the drawing board, not so much lab stuff. But who knows what they chuck in it. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, you know, instead of, they have cauliflower as the first ingredient, and if they used cauliflower pulp instead, then it would be thicker, and they could make something like a Cheese Whiz sort of vegan sauce.
Only better than Cheese Whiz.
Only better.
Way better than Cheese Whiz.
I think that would sell really well. So they just have to tweak it a little bit, make it a little zippier, and I think they're gonna have something successful. But right now, as it is, it's not.
I can't believe I used to like Cheese Whiz. It's like admitting that I used to like the Dave Clark 5 better than anyone else back in about 64, 65. And then I switched over to the Monkeys. That's almost as embarrassing. But Cheese Whiz, oh man. Anyway.
So how did Stallone in Daylight get top of the stack against these other
Is he just looking young, or is that a younger?
He's actually looking pretty good. For this was, the box says 2002. So
okay, so that's a while back, 20 years back.
That's not, I mean, still, he wasn't.
Well, he's older than me. Yeah, you're right. He'd be 50 or so.
So he was looking good.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think for Stallone, I think he did he's not a good actor.
No.
But he did an all right job for what it was. It was an action sort of thing, and I think he pulled it off okay. So it was surprising. It has Viggo Mortensen.
There we go.
The guy from True Blood. That he was the handsome vampire. Well, I don't know which one you. Maybe you thought the other
that's
one
a different
was
guy. That's
the
a
blonde
different guy
guy.
than I was thinking of. I thought Viggo Mortensen was in. He's playing kind of like a cowboy or something like that. I'm mixing him up, I guess, with something else.
Well, maybe he's played a cowboy. I have no idea. But anyway,
I'm trying to think. It was maybe in Lord of the Rings. I don't know, something like that.
Well,
I'm not good at those sorts of things. I can remember going on a drama club tour of professional drama productions. This was when I was at the University of Lethbridge first time around, and we had Calgary and Edmonton, and they were playing Trivial Pursuit, entertainment / drama, whatever. So basically TV and movies, all the way up, all the way back. There was one guy, probably the best actor of the lot. He was awesome. He was pretty well automatic on anything. But I just sat back in the shadows and, well, I did admire it, but I'd go, well, it's kind of like watching someone playing tiddlywinks at a extremely high level. It doesn't get much more trivial, in other words, than that sort of Trivial Pursuit. Maybe sports Trivial Pursuit, more trivial. All right.
So anyway, I don't remember seeing Viggo Mortensen after a certain point, so that he must have died. But I mean, I'm doing something else, right? So I missed some things, whatever. Yeah. And this is important. No fiction movie is important to devote all of one's time to. So it's good to have on in the background. It's kind of like company, whatever.
Yeah.
And
kind of like TV is for a lot of people, or radio.
It's kind of relaxing. So, yeah, there's some great action scenes, some funny things. There's some stunningly bad acting in here. Really over the top. Some people that really overacted and should never have gotten jobs as actors. I mean, anyway, some of that, but there's a lot of action, and there's one scene where Stallone is going down into the tunnel, and he's using these fans, so he's going down, and they can't shut off the fans for some reason or something, and so he's having to go through and so it's pretty silly, but it reminded me of that one spoof on Star Trek show. I can't remember. Anyway, when they were like, why would they build them like this? And you have to go through. But so it was silly, but still a lot of action, and Stallone looked good, and whatever. They pulled off what do you want from an action adventure movie? You want action. You want adventure. There you go. You got it. Coda, Patrick Stewart. Now, I don't like Katie Holmes, so that's part of it. I find her difficult to watch. It's not, you know, she's cute and everything. Anyway, so that's part of it. I love piano music, so that was making me go, oh, well, maybe I should put it top of the stack. But then I'm thinking, okay, but if you don't love piano music, like, you can't just put it on top of the stack just because you love piano music. So as a movie, no, I don't think it deserves top of the stack. It's about a piano player, whatever. If you like piano, you like it. So Medieval. This one has Michael Caine in it, but not very much Michael Caine. And there's so much gore. It's just steeped in mud and blood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the comments on the back.
You're probably disappointed there wasn't more mud.
Honestly, that would have been better.
Oh, man.
There's so much gore in this. It's if you like that sort of thing, then I suppose this might be your bag. It's just not mine.
You got a lot of old guys acting in it, eh? Even the big studly guy at the front looks significantly elderly.
Yeah. So I guess this was built on, or the story was made from inspired by actual events.
Oh,
And
yeah. They don't say which, so you can't check.
No, I was reading the stuff at the end. I'm trying to look here because after the death of its reigning emperor, the Roman Empire plummets into war as feuding brothers battle for control of the empty throne. Elite warrior Jan is hard to kidnap the fiance of the blah 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 blah.
No,
anyway,
not getting any detail.
No,
I mean, the
but
Roman Empire just kept on falling and falling and falling.
I think it was like Bohemia or something.
Yeah, Bohemia is Czechoslovakia. So what is going on there?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
I was reading the stuff at the end, and maybe I should have taken notes, but honestly, I just didn't care. So apparently, this guy who fought a knight, maybe he's a knight. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention that well because I didn't want to.
Well, you know, the knight thing, it probably comes from equities or something like that.
He'd never been defeated or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure.
One of those,
really realistic.
You know, they said for freedom fighters everywhere or something like that at the end. So I don't know. Anyway, it was just bad. I'm going to leave you to tell them about what
they would have been fighting terrorists in the form of Viking, pre-Vikings.
Go ahead and finish off that queso sauce.
Okay. Yeah, I just might. Using the celery. There we go. So I was talking about earlier today the spread of civilization. Singular. Civilization, not civilizations. Civilization is a process, not a product. Get that straight. In many cultures, there's only one civilization. It's a civilizing process. It's a process of people learning to kind of get along with each other in cities. It's a tough process. Lots of people get killed. You know, in Shakespearean times, guys were walking around, gather with swords on their hips. And you gave them some lip, they'd draw from the hip. Yeah, of course there's some place in the United States where kind of like that. People are lugging guns, all that sort of stuff. There's one particular community in the United States that's real problems with that, but they haven't been subjected to the process of civilization for very long. Maybe that's a reason. Maybe it's an excuse. That's topic. That's another topic. Anyway, we were talking about how civilization developed pretty well at the same time, like civilization with writing. There were cities earlier, you know, like in Turkey, and in the Fertile Crescent, Jericho. I think they say Jericho's the oldest city on record. But that's what I was reading a while back. It's probably changed. I think there's a place called Çatalhöyük in Turkey. There's two different places called that, at least. The one that's a little more internal is the one they figure is the oldest, maybe a little older than Jericho, maybe a whole lot. So it developed there, and then the Fertile Crescent developed. So places along there developed a different writing system. Aramaic was developed in Syria. It looks as though it might have been based on the Phoenician alphabet, and then really should call it an alphabet probably. And maybe at the same time, I think it actually preceded, was the development of the alphabet in present-day Israel. Don't try to pawn that off as Palestine. Palestine means Palashtu, it means Philistine, okay? That's the Gaza Strip. Nothing more. There shouldn't be anything less. The Gaza Strip's a little bit less than what the Philistine area was. And I'm not talking about what's recorded in the Bible. I could care less about that. I'm talking about what's recorded in stuff we've dug out of the ground in Iraq. Okay? Palashtu was what the Assyrians called it, and they located it in present-day Gaza Strip. Get that straight. Or don't. I don't really care. You know, you're welcome to your... you know, check it up for one thing. But you know, if you're going around denying that, all that sort of stuff, you're not any better than Donald Trump supporters, and you're actually stupider than Donald Trump. Donald Trump knows when he's making up his lies. Now, yeah, he's a businessman. He's used to lying. It's a form of propaganda, business propaganda. And then the next place to develop writing, Indus Valley, present-day Pakistan. It should be part of a Hindu overall sort of thing, but it was severely colonized, imperialized, settled by folks from elsewhere, and taken over. It's expropriation. They didn't appropriate enough of Buddhist culture, which is indigenous to South Asia. Buddha actually hailed from the southern part of Nepal. But the Nepalese still are Hindus, from what I can tell. And they use the classical kind of script, the one that's used for Sanskrit, also for Hindi. I think Marathi, spoken around Bombay. They use the Devanagari script. So do the Nepalese. It's the vast majority of them. Fourth place to develop writing, it looks like independently, was China. And that form of civilization spread through Korea into Japan. It took a while, you know, like we've got records in China that would go back maybe to 1500 BC. Their dating system, the traditional dating system, is inflated at the beginning. So it goes back to something like, I believe, 2300 BC. There's no way to go back that far in reality. Korea.
You don't have to have your mask on now.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I kind of forget. Okay. So Korea is a transition zone to Japan. Japan started getting, from what we can tell, they're something like civilization about 500 AD. That's a long time. You know, China is like 2,000 years after. China is not really that far away. Now Korea is kind of mountainous, and you know, had to jump across the Straits of Tsushima, I think they're called, between Korea and Japan. But yeah, it took a while. It took a long while. And the Japanese adopted and adapted the writing system and some of the cultures that were coming over by then. Buddhism had already was kind of making it big in China, This is just before the Tang Dynasty, before when Japan started getting civilization, writing system and stuff like that. So you know, eventually it spread. I mean, Korean originally was written. Now they developed a much better script. It's basically something that's described as a syllabic script. I'm a little bit suspicious of that description, but originally their writing was in, or at least their classical writings in the Chinese script. And same sort of thing I can recall running across a book at a library sale in Regina, and I snaffled a book, and it was on classical Vietnamese literature. It was all in Chinese script, every bit of it. So it spread down there, this area in here, Laos, Cambodia, Tonkin, Cochin, China. It used to be called Indochina. It's the influence of civilization from India, the influence of civilization from China. Now it's kind of been taken over by the Chinese. There's not much Indian influence there, and I'm not sure whether that's for the better. I mean, the Buddhism that's prevalent in that area, up until communism, which is a different kind of belief system. It's a pretty skanky religion, really. But would have come from South Asia, India, more or less, stuff like that. So it takes a long time for civilization, just the idea to spread. So now some of these places, like Turkey, it was about 1000 BC when the Hittites started to maybe civilize themselves. I think before they did that, they'd actually, at least according to some accounts, most accounts, they'd actually sacked Babylon. I'm not so sure. That's just based on one report. I think actually it might have just been they stomped a Babylonian army, and you know, it could have been kind of halfway in between Babylon and the core of where Hittite civilization developed, not their latter-day capital during their empire, which is north of the core of where they developed. And around 1000 BC, you've got the Phoenicians developing a writing system. Somewhere in there, I suspect it's actually before them, you had the Jews, well, it was before the Jews, really. What do they call them? Not Judahites. Well, we'll call them Israelites. I suspect it was actually Moses who started this whole thing, and he would be dated, and I suspect there was someone very much like Moses in actual history, not just in the Bible. And he's described in the Bible as being raised as a prince, and possibly was literate. And it looks as though there's a kind of a script found at Serbet al-Qadim, I'm mispronouncing it seriously, in the Sinai Peninsula, where it looks as though it's the beginning of an alphabetic script, or alphabetic script, and it looks as though it was derived from Egypt. And they've of course severely misdated that whole thing there, because they're dating it according to Egyptian stuff. You know, try to get this straight. Egyptian stuff, or the dating for the chronology, is not concordant with radiocarbon readings, raw radiocarbon readings. Calibrated radiocarbon readings that calibration is done all over the world, starting maybe 500 BC, and you know, it's more than in some cases 500 years. Just add it to every date that they find around, and that's just to please Egyptologists. See how small Egypt is? Huh? Just to please Egyptologists. They got a screwed up chronology. It's based on Herodotus. Herodotus says there were 800 years between him and the Trojan War, and you look at his Egyptian king list, such as it is, and he's got the Middle Kingdom. So this is he has the beginning with what we now know is the Middle Kingdom, then the New Kingdom, and in this gap between the Trojan War and himself, he's got the Old Kingdom. The gap. Close that gap off. Anyway, so about 1000 BC. You've got Turkey getting civilized. You've got Greek stuff. I'm not so sure the Greeks actually didn't come from the Turkish mainland, Asia Minor or whatever, spread over to Greece. The initial phases of Greek civilization, like philosophy and stuff like that, seem to come from the Turkish mainland. It's the spread of civilization. So we've got the Hittites recording people that seem to be Greek in, I think it's 1450 BC, but that's a bad dating system. 950 BC. Let's say about 900 BC or stuff like that. That's what, of course they were ethnically cleansed by the Turks almost in my dad's lifetime. So this is in the wake of the end of World War I. They say 1.5 million were ethnically cleansed out of Turkey. That's amazing. And we're supposed to cry about 500,000 were ethnically cleansed out of Greece and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not native to Greece. Where are the Turks native to? They're native to over here. They've never been conquered. They conquered Kazakhstan, and they conquered Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. See Turk in there? They conquered Azerbaijan. There's a place called Baku there in the Caspian Sea. And then, now those places eventually got conquered by initially the Arabs were going and stomp and taking slaves. And then I guess the Turkic kind of people related to the Turks, and the Turks themselves might have said, hey, it looks like a lot of fun taking a lot of slaves and stuff like that. Why don't we join up? And so they converted, and so they ended up being slave takers and land stealers, and they stole all this land from Indo-European people. Basically, it was Greek. We call it the Byzantine Empire. It was the Greek Empire, okay? And they didn't finally take it over, all of it over, until 1453. They took over Istanbul, formerly Constantinople or Byzantium, and we've got records of that being Greek, going back to 600 BC. So 2,000 years later, they come and steal that. There's as many people, I gather, in this European part of Turkey as there are perhaps in all of Scandinavia. Oh, wow, yeah. They, the Turks are constantly telling the Jews to shape up or ship out. It's more like ship out of the land that they're as native to as anyone else is. And but they stole the northern part of Cyprus quite recently. And they've done ethnic cleansing all over this place on Indo-Europeans, like Armenians, again and again and again. Yeah, it's disgusting. But at any rate, Greece developed a civilization. There's a spread happening. First, you get the Poles and Fertile Crescent gets civilized or civilizes itself, and it spreads through Turkey. The Greeks finally get in the western part of Turkey, jumps over to the mainland of Greece and the islands, and then eventually, as Horace said, Italy conquered, I think it's 146 BC, conquered Corinth, I believe it was, and, Macedonia, I think it's more like 146 BC, and Horace said, or Horace was maybe 150 years later, he said, vis-a-vis Italy conquering Greece, the conquered the conquerors. In other words, the Greek civilization conquered Italian civilization. The Italians had already kind of civilized themselves. They're pretty brutish. Someone once said, they make a wasteland and call it peace, talking about the Romans. And the Romans really didn't get civilized until a place, not Rome, north of Rome. We call it Florence. I think it's Firenze in Italian, something like that. And that's in Renaissance.